Hi, Stampers. It's Lisa. Sophie and I are here to show you a card today. My name is Lisa. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I go live right here on YouTube and in my Facebook group every Monday and Thursday. Occasionally, Sophie and Pixie decide to join us. Here we go. Here. Come here, Pixie. Come here. Come here. And sometimes you guys ask to see them, so I decided I'd give them little treats today so they would come up and be seen on camera. But what you're really here for is this card. This is the one we're making today. So it's fairly simple, but I wanted to showcase this bundle once again because it is carrying over, which I think is fabulous, but there's some awesome designer series paper that goes with it, and the designer paper is not carrying over. So I wanted to make sure you guys got a good look at it. So let's move down to my desk and get started. So here's today's card, and you can see these dies not only cut, but they also emboss, which I thought was super impressive. And then they also have a die that will cut stuff out of this designer series paper, which was part of why I said you guys need this. Because this die right here is going to cut out that fish. Isn't that awesome? I love it when they do that. This is the bundle or the suite we're working with, and this is our designer series paper. And so it's got lots of fishing flies and some fishing poles, fishing net. It's got this awesome blue, which I thought was really pretty. That could be used for your fishing or something else. A lot of the backs of these designer series paper can be used for something other than fishing. But it's just super awesome paper. And I love the stamp set. It's a good masculine stamp set, especially for those of us here in Idaho, because fishing is a big thing here. And you may have seen, I did a tutorial a while ago that worked on the fishing vest. And then these pieces here make a tackle box. So you can find that on my YouTube channel. We're going to be using this die right here, which is the one that cut and embossed the edge of the water. And then we're also going to be using the bobber. And then this little thing, people often wondered what that was when they first came out. And what it is the ripple in the water for where we're going to set the fishing bobber. So I don't know if you have heard, Stampin' Up! Is going to be rising some of their prices. So just little bits like, 50 cents here, 50 cents there, not a big deal. But if you wanted to stock up, you could probably save some money. I am working on my newsletter that will be sent out later today, and that will have a list of everything that is going to be going on, like a little bit of an increase. I appreciate that they did give us about 6 weeks notice before they go live with these new prices. They're going to take effect in the new annual catalog. And I do have that. That finally came in the mail to me just the other day. And so it looks kind of like a magazine, and that's how it feels when you open it up. And a lot of you guys are my avid stampers, and so I want to warn you, this book is actually geared a lot at beginner stampers. It goes through a lot of card sketches. It does some color theory. It talks about techniques. It's great for your beginner stampers, but don't panic, because they have, Stampin' Up! Has told us that the annual catalog, they will gear at beginner stampers, and our mini catalogs will be for us avid. Not to say there isn't avid stuff in here. There is, but it's going to look different than what you're used to, and it takes some getting used to. Yes, the glue dots are going up, so those are a good thing to stock up on. And they get those from someone else. We don't make those. So I think a lot of these costs that are going up are being imposed on them, and it's just doing the trickle-down effect, which we don't like, but it happens. Okay, for our card today, we are going to start with a card base that is 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. And how I came to this is I actually cut this to 4 1/4 by 11. And then I cut 2 3/4 off of the front. So I just cut this off, and what I'm going to end up doing is turning it 90 degrees and putting it on the front of my card. And then we have some layers to go on that. So I have this piece here, which is 2.5 by 4. Yeah, 2.5 by 4, and there's one for the inside as well. That will go over this piece of designer series paper, which is 4 by 5.25. So that's going to go inside, and that's going to go inside. Then we have, one more. That's, again, this is the same size as the outside one, 2 3/4 by 4.25. And then this one is going to go here, which is 2.5 by 4. So we're basically repeating what's on the front, on the inside, those 2 layers. So that'll be really easy to just glue up. And then we're going to do some die cutting and some stamping. So let's get started with that. So let's do our stamping first, because we'll end up die cutting one of those out when we do our little bobber. And this is just some pieces that I have already pre-die cut, and I used one of our clear envelopes to store it on the inside. When you first get your stamp sets, they will come, this stuff will come between 2 pieces of acetate, a thin and a thick piece, and I usually save those, and I use them for making my window cards and other things that need acetate. And then they have the images directly on the back of the case. So it's easier for me to just stick them onto the case. Now this particular stamp feels like it's getting a little dusty, and when they do that, or if your oils from your hands and things get on there, they tend to not want to stick as well to the block. And so my recommendation when they start getting less sticky is to take them over to the sink and wash them with some soft, gentle soapy water, and that will help that. Let's see. That one, and that one. So we'll bring in some blocks. I always line up my stamps on the grid paper and then align my block with the grid paper to help keep me straight. And then I'm going to do my stamping in boho blue, because one of my favorite things about Stampin' Up! Is the color coordination. So if I'm grabbing boho blue paper and boho blue ink and then boho blue markers, they're all going to match exactly. Our stamp pads I love because they kind of open like a compact, and then they're going to slide in. Now they're going to be a little stiff. Now I'm telling you this because it's an annual catalog, and we're going to be getting lots of new ink pads because we have those new in colors coming out. Have you guys seen those yet? We have some great new in colors. Again, they're in my newsletter. Make sure you're signed up if you haven't already seen those. But they're going to have new ink pads. And so one of the things you want to do is take a birthday candle or maybe some chapstick, and you're going to run that down into the grooves and then slide this back and forth. And it's going to kind of lubricate this, and that's going to help you a lot. You also want to put your labels. The solid one will go there, and then the one with the name and your language will go on the edge. And then you want to peel it off of the back. A lot of people forget that step. And the reason you want to peel it off is, see these little dots right here? Those little dots are meant to go into the next ink pad so that they will stack one on top of each other and not slide around. And they won't do that if there is that extra stuff in between. They won't, I don't want to say stick, but they won't stack as well. So just something to keep in mind. So we're going to do a gentle tap, 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 and then we're going to set it in our paper and then straight, even up and down pressure. We're not going to do any rocking. That was something we learned in kindergarten that we don't want to do anymore. No more rocking. Just tap, 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 and then straight up and down pressure. Oh, okay. I probably want to do this in gray. Let's go back, because there is an insert that goes into this one, because this has got a lot of two-step stamping and where you can do your outline and then stamp in your color. So a lot of these will do that with each other. This one will even stamp into that if I wanted. Let's see, there it is. So I'll bring in some basic gray, and we'll do that with our bobber and then fill it in with the blue. Oh, see, I know I just had that in my hand. And I'm going to stamp that onto a scrap of paper so that we can easily die cut it out. And these are all small enough I'm going to be able to use my mini die cutting machine. I'm excited that a lot of you are asking about my book. I have sent the final draft over to Stampin' Up! For approval, and as soon as I get approval from them, it will be available on my Stampin' Up! Or on my Stampin' Up! Blog, basically, my personal website in my store with the rest of my tutorials. And I have found a company that will actually print it for me. So if you wanted to just buy it and download it like you do all my other tutorials, there's that option. But then there's also the option to have it printed and spiral bound and mailed to you. I'll warn you, it takes about 2 weeks. But it might be worth it to have it printed out and spiral bound, because it will do that. Okay, so let's pull in our mini cut and emboss machine. I'll send my used stamps over here to the Stampin' Scrub. No bark. Hey, no bark. Okay, so there is our bobber. And then we're going to cut the edge on this blue right here. And then we're going to want a section where we're going to have the bobber going into the water. Now, if you wanted to at this point, you might want to put a little bit of Post-it tape or a Post-it note, something to hold this in place, because my pads are warping a little, and so that's why they're shifting on me. You can reduce the amount of warping that the plates do if each time you feed it through the machine, you flip the clear ones over. And what that does is it makes sure that they get even pressure so that both sides of them are getting worn evenly. And then if they are popping up, like they'll warp kind of this way, sometimes I'll have a tendency to roll them into the machine and then leave them in there at the halfway point and just let it sit for a while, and putting that pressure on the middle sometimes will help. So here is the room for our bobber. See how it made that nice little slice in there? So that part cut, and then it did the embossing so that it has that. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. If I had the piercing mat, I'd put that underneath it. But I don't have it right with me. But I want to just poke a little bit of a hole through there. Oops, and I pushed too hard. That's why you need the piercing mat. Because I want to be able to put my twine through that hole so that it actually looks like it's coming out from behind. I'm going to secure that with a glue dot. Everybody always asks me, which adhesive do you use? Well, I use all of them. I'm kind of bad that way because each of the adhesives has a use for it. I mean, I love the liquid glue because it gives you your wiggle room. You have time to wobble it around and stuff. I love the dimensionals. because they give that little extra pop. I love the quick drying and quick movement of the seal. And then I love the fact that the tear and tape has that extra strength to it when building boxes and interactive cards and things that are going to get more movement. And then, of course, little things like attaching embellishments or working with ribbons and stuff, then you want the glue dots. It's just, they all have their little use. So I can't tell you I use any one exclusively. I use kind of all of them. I know which is a bad cop out, but I do. Okay, so now we can bring back in our pieces. And so can start assembling some of this. You know, I love to do that early on so that I get pieces out of my way so that I don't lose them. See how great the Stampin' Seal is, how quick that is to just roll a little bit. And I always break it off up here at the tip so that it is ready to roll for the next one. I'm going to make sure my fish are right side up. I mean, I suppose they could go the other way. They'd just be, well, I guess no, because you'd want that thing on top, right? With what is it, a dorsal fin, and there's a name for the fins, and that one has to be on top. So if I had flipped it the other way, they would indeed look like they're swimming upside down, not just going the other direction. And with the seal, we only need a little bit. So if you're buying the big box adhesive thinking you're saving some money, you're probably not, because you have to use a whole lot more of that to ensure that the cards don't fall apart. So be careful with that. You wouldn't want your cards to fall apart on the recipient. Okay, so I'm going to put the first piece on the front. And I did use a little more adhesive than normal because this is going to get movement. People are going to pull on this, so I don't want it to come off. But I just kind of centered it in the overall front of the card, but only put adhesive on the part that's going to touch here. Because if I had adhesive over here, it's going to glue the card shut. And we don't want that, right? Okay, this piece is, like I said, is the water that's going to go on here. So it looks like I already have it cut to fit, but if I had not, then all you would need to do is kind of glue it on, and then we'll trim off from the back side. And I think I'm going to go ahead and tuck this in there. And then I want to leave room for my sentiment, and I want to leave room for my fish. So I probably will trim a little off. And this is really easy to do from the back side because you can see the difference in the colors. And then by putting my top scissor kind of butted up against this one, it gave me a really close, even match. And then I want to pull this so it looks like it's coming from a fishing pole somewhere out of the scene. So I'm going to pull that at an angle, and then I'm going to adhere this on the back. And I'm going to use tear and tape only because it's going to be nice and easy for me to put that on there. I mean, the roller would probably work, but I don't want to pull that. I want it to just stick right there. And then you have your choice if you wanted to lay this down flat or you wanted to pop it on dimensionals, you can do that too. So by putting the tear and tape, if I wanted to pop this up on dimensionals, then I just wouldn't remove the backing and it would still hold the string there. Or I guess this is linen thread. Oh, I forgot to cut the little fish out of here. I meant to cut that one, but I make you a bet there's going to be a fish in here. Yep, all kinds of fish in here. There's some that I have stamped, and there's some that are die cut, some that are bigger. I don't think I want to go with that guy because that'd be too much of all the same color, right? And then you often notice I have these like half fish, and people go, why would you keep a half a fish? What's that good for? Well, what that's good for is if you have the inside of your card and you wanted to make it look like the fish were just kind of swimming off into the distance. It works. This one obviously is so big, you'd want to use a bigger inside. But I cut these off of the edge of the designer series paper, even though it's not a whole fish, because if I just put it up to the edge, it'll look like I did that on purpose. So don't throw away all the edges of your designer series paper. And these ones are obviously missing the head, but if they were missing the tail, it would still be easy to stick it down in here because you wouldn't notice the tail was missing. Well, I know I have more. There we go. That's the guy I'm looking for. This is the one that fits the die that cut it out of the designer series paper. And so this is where I need wiggle room. So I'm going to use my liquid glue so I have time to wiggle him around till he's in the spot I want him in. And I have added some of my liquid glue to this little fine tip glue pen kind of bottle that I bought on Amazon. I think there's a link to it on my blog in my recommended products section. We're not allowed to sell things that Stampin' Up! Sells. Like we can't sell competing products, but I can point you over to things that Stampin' Up! Does not sell that I can recommend to some of my other craft room favorites. Okay, I'm going to go with dimensionals. And anytime you go over to my Amazon link, even if you don't buy what it is I sent you there for, I get kind of a little thank you from Amazon for whatever it is that you do buy while you're out there. So please use my links. It doesn't cost you any extra and it helps me out a ton. Okay, so there's the front of our card. Now we're going to put this on the inside. And like I said, I have the same size. And now to make sure that the front is going to cover up the one on the inside, what I want to do is I want to take this one and I'm just going to put it right behind there so that these three sides are equal. And then I'm just going to close the card. And so that's going to make sure that it sticks exactly where I want it to so that the front one covers up the back and they're perfectly aligned. So that's today's card using the Gone Fishing Suite with that awesome designer series paper that is on its way out that you may want to grab before it's all gone. And then you'll come back on Monday for one more live before I go in for surgery. That will be this card here. And we're going to be using vellum, which is another thing that's retiring. So, okay, so it doesn't look like I have any questions. Yeah, the prices are going up, and I apologize. I know it's something that's just passed down from Stampin' Up, and it's just trickling down to us. Like I said, I'm just so glad that, unlike the grocery store, they're giving us 6 weeks warning before they do go up. So go out and stock up on those things and make sure, because they're not going to go bad. I mean, we're obviously going to use them. Okay, has everybody put in hashtag prize patrol? Because that is how you get entered into the drawing for how to win today's card, because I am going to be mailing today's card to one of the lucky winners. But how you get entered into that is to enter hashtag and then prize patrol. Here is my, I got a typo in there. I'm going to have to fix that. How to shop at Stampin' Up. As you would go to my website, queenbeecreations.net/shop now. Oop, there we go. And I have a wheel that I'm going to share. So we'll remove my desk and add this one. So go ahead and make sure you have that input. And then while you're waiting, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, all those good things. Thank you, Catherine. We will miss you on Monday. I know everybody loves chatting in amongst the chat amongst themselves, so that's just great. What's the greeting on the front? Oh, I did congrats on this one. And that's just another one out of this set here. I guess I forgot that when I was stamping. It'd be kind of hard to add now because I use dimensionals, and so it's kind of squishy underneath there. But if you wanted to add congrats to the top, that's in here. And then I added happy retirement inside. And then next week's card is going to use good things come to those who wait. Oh, sorry, I'm not even showing it on the screen. Here we go. There's the congrats. So it is in this bundle. Catherine said, you're going back to New York? What's in New York? Are you going for fun or? Oops, what am I doing? Clicking on like the wrong things. Thank you for your well wishes on my surgery. I've talked to the physical therapist today, and he said the first 3 days I'll probably be wishing I'd never done it. So that's kind of discouraging. But he says after a while it gets better. So we'll see. Okay, let me go ahead and give this wheel a spin and find out who our winner is. Oh, okay. You live in New York. Snowbird to Florida for the winner. Fun. Okay, Christy, you are our winner. You know the drill. You're going to want to go over to my website, queenbeecreations.net, and then up there in the address bar, you're going to put /prize patrol after the end. See, look, I'm getting all click happy today. I don't know what's going on. But that's how you claim your prize, is that'll take you to a Google form and you just fill in your address and tell me where you want your prize mailed to, and I will get that out ASAP. So thank you to everyone who's joining me, and come back on Monday for another card. Catherine, we will miss you. You can catch it on replay. So thank you so much. Bye.